Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game preview Merseyside derby tomorrow evening at 8:15. Another midweek Merseyside derby. The first Merseyside derby under the lights at Goodison Park for quite some time, and the first Merseyside derby actually that fans will be able to go to for quite some time as well. I was actually thinking about this in work today, how long it's been since we've been at a Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, and you know, typically these aren't very good games for Everton. Yes, okay, we haven't got too bad of a record in derbies at Goodison in recent years. There seems to be an awful lot of draws. They're never exciting games of football from an Everton point of view. They're never games you particularly look forward to. They're never games you're particularly excited for either. And I think this one is probably the epitome of everything, isn't it, really? I don't know how anybody else feels, but I am absolutely dreading tomorrow evening. I really, really am. It's just got the making of what could be the worst Merseyside derby from an Everton standpoint in a long time. Them lot are, sort of cruising in a three-way title race, winning sort of every week, and when they win, they don't just win 1-0 with a scammy last-minute goal. They're typically winning 3-4, 5-0, completely wiping teams away. They wiped Southampton away at the weekend. They did it to Porto, in midweek in the Champions League. They've done it to Manchester United, Arsenal, absolutely, dealt with these teams as if they don't even exist. And Everton at the moment are 2 months without a win. Another absolutely dreadful performance on Sunday afternoon against Brentford, which saw another defeat. Very low on confidence, a lot of unhappiness surrounding the manager and the managerial appointment and the board, and just not a very good time to sort of have a Merseyside derby. Really, it's almost come at the worst time possible, and don't get me wrong, I don't think a Merseyside derby can ever come at a good time for Everton, but this just seems like it's coming at the worst time possible. The feeling and the sort of sense around the football club at the moment is just not very good for many a different reason. The manager, and massive question marks as to whether or not he is good enough to take Everton forward. Obviously, we talked yesterday about the Brentford game and about his tactics, and how, for me, it's beyond comprehensible to try and understand why he didn't use all three substitutions in a game that we were losing 1-0, and that, I think pretty much everybody associated with Everton deemed as a must win. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the board at the moment, various different quotes and things popping up on social media now from the past, which just, for me, tell me why the board are completely and utterly inept and, incapable of running a football club, certainly a football club that wants to become a success. I mean, when your chairman's coming out in the AGM at the start of this year and talking about Everton as if we're the most successful club in the world and we're dead great and other clubs look up to us and want to be like us, it just shows you what a worrying state we're in, because not only are these people incapable of running the football club and don't really know an awful lot about football, but they also, and this is the more dangerous thing for me, they also think they're doing a good job. They think they're doing well. They think everything's going brilliantly, and it really, really isn't. So there's a lot of talk around the players at the moment. Are they good enough? Is the squad good enough? Marcel Brand's in his position. So there's just a lot of fan fury and fan anger at the moment, and rightly so. I'm right at the forefront of it, rightly so. I think it's about time we start standing up for our football club, and we start demanding answers from those that are in charge and those that have got a position at the club, which ultimately is having a detrimental effect on the future. So I'm absolutely made up that fans are standing up. I'm absolutely made up that fans are starting to question what's going on at the football club and demanding answers. But we have got a game of footy to play tomorrow, and we've got a game of footy against one of the strongest sides in the league. Take away the fact that it's a Merseyside derby, and we will talk about the Merseyside derby effect a little bit later on in the live stream and how that can work to Everton's advantage, because it will only work to Everton's advantage. But forget about the Merseyside derby, forget about it being at Goodison, forget about it being them lot, forget about hating them and this, that and the other, and rivalry and all of that sort of stuff. At the very base level of this game of football, it's one of the most informed teams in the league, if not arguably the most informed team in the league, certainly when it comes to scoring goals, against the most out of form team in the league. We can't stop conceding goals in any way, shape or form, and at the moment we couldn't score if somebody put it on a plate for us. So stripping back the fact that it's a Merseyside derby and we're playing Liverpool and it's this, that and the other rivalry and all of this sort of stuff, at the very base level we're one of the weakest teams in the Premier League, playing one of the strongest sides in the Premier League. And as I said, the worrying thing about this Liverpool team for me is we've played Liverpool teams in the past that have beaten us heavily and had decent players in there, but this is a side that when they win, they don't seem to win. As I said, 1-0, 2-0, they're seeming to win 3, 4, 5. They're blowing teams away, and I just think it could get real sour real quick tomorrow if Everton find ourselves 1-2-0 down within the opening 15-20 minutes, which is very possible based on the quality levels of the of both sides. And that's why Everton, for me, need to manage this game perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. I think this is another one of those examples, very similar to Manchester City a couple of weeks ago, last week, that it's not beyond the realms of possibility for us to win. Obviously, again, the fact that it's a derby and it's a Merseyside derby, I suppose naturally gives more of a chance, but we've got to be at our very, very, very best tomorrow. Very, very, very best, and we've got to hope that Liverpool have an off day, or, we at least have to be able to stop them from playing football. Because if we treat this as a football match, and I've heard Liverpool fans say this and some Everton fans have gone, oh, shut up, this, that and the other, but they're completely right. If we treat this as a football match, we'll get bounced off the park. And I'm not necessarily saying throw, stupid, ridiculous challenges in and try and get players sent off or injured or whatever, because that's nonsense as well, because ultimately that'll just come and bite us on the arse. We've seen the level of referees in this league. It's absolutely atrocious. And tomorrow evening, if one of our players puts even a slightly controversial challenge in, they'll be sent off as quick as the referee can, get his card out the book, because they'll be all over that because of what happened in the last Merseyside derby at Goodison. So Everton have got to be really, really clever about this tomorrow. We've got to find that balance of almost understanding that if we try and go toe-to-toe with this team, they'll walk all over us because they're a much better footballing side than us. But also we can't just do what maybe we would have done in the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s and fly in and make it real physical, because, we'll be on the bad end of that as well. We'll end up picking up stupid cards and stupid sending off. But there is a way to make this game physical and to sort of, I suppose, make this Liverpool team sort of thing. I don't want any part of this. I don't want any involvement in this. But without obviously going over the top. And for me, it starts at the players tomorrow. Listen, we can talk about Rafa Benitez's tactics. We can talk about his lineup at 7:15 when the team news comes out. We can talk about his substitutions on Thursday when the game's over. We can talk about the board. We can talk about the director of football. But tomorrow's game starts with the players. Those 11 players on the pitch simply have to be prepared to run through brick walls for this football club tomorrow, or don't turn up. It's as simple as that. Don't turn up. As I said, tactically and substitutions wise, we might be sitting here on Thursday talking about, again, poor decisions by Rafa Benitez, this, that and the other. But if these players aren't going to turn up and give 110%, if these players aren't going to turn up and run through brick walls, if these players aren't going to turn up and battle and fight and show that desire and show that commitment and show that passion and get into Liverpool and make it hard for them and don't show them respect and don't let them play around us and don't let them embarrass us, get in there and play for yourself and your teammates and for all of those Evertonians at Goodison Park. If they don't do that, then we may as well kiss the game goodbye, regardless of whether Rafa Benitez decides to bring on Asmir Begovic up front, or he starts Solomon Rondon at left back. If these players aren't going to give absolutely everything, then it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So that's for me where it starts. We need to see that desire. We need to see that passion tomorrow from minute one, and it might take a little bit of a tough challenge from Ben Godfrey to get the crowd going. One thing's for certain is that the Goodison crowd tomorrow are going to be very, 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 very edgy. And that can go either way. It can go either way. And it's important. I can't express how important it is that these players turn it their way. And what I'm saying is you're going to have 40,000 Evertonians up to the brim with emotion, fury, frustration, anger, disappointment, fume, or all of the emotions that you can possibly think of in a negative connotation built up inside of them. And within that opening couple of minutes, there can be one of two options. A, an Everton player, makes a dart and run, or goes in with a sensible but a bit of a tough challenge, or gets in the face of a Liverpool player, and then the whole stadium rises and gets on the back of that. And a little bit like with the game against Tottenham a couple of weeks ago, when we said Son threw himself on the floor in the opening 5 or 10 minutes, the crowd got up and got on top of it because obviously of the past with Son, and then we were much better beyond that. Now I'm not a massive advocate of the Tottenham game because I still think we were shite, but the atmosphere was the best it's been at Goodison for a long time against Tottenham, and the performance in terms of the players' effort, the players' desire, the players' commitment was much better than anything we've seen for a while at Goodison Park. So there's that option, or there's the option of standing off this Liverpool team, being worried about them, sort of panicking about them, and within the opening couple of minutes, then get them getting a goal, and then all of that frustration, anger, and emotion will turn into just a sour cesspit of fume that'll be aimed towards the players, the manager, and that's when you see the likes of Marco Silva's 5-2 loss at Anfield, however many David Moyes 3-4-0 losses, Roberto Martinez's loss at Anfield as well. That's when ultimately it'll all go tits up then, and you'll see people leaving in the opening half an hour because they'll just take advantage of that. So these players have to be aware that the fans' emotions need to be used as a positive for them. And I honestly think if you've got 40,000 Evertonians that are on the brink of just absolute fume, and Ben Godfrey throws in a tackle in the opening couple of minutes, and a Liverpool player's in the referee's face, and then Seamus Coleman bounces over and moves him out the way and says, "Get out the face, you." I think the whole crowd reacts to that, and we all know it's no, there's no point in ignoring it. This Everton side is a squad full of confidence-based players. One week they can be very, very good. The next week they can be absolutely atrocious. I can't tell you how many players in this team base their performances off of how confident they are, and that isn't sustainable, by the way. That's why we'll always be mid-table mediocre, because you can't have players that one week you might get a 9-10 out of 10 performance, and the next week you might get a 1-2 out of 10. These players will react to the crowd, whether that be in a positive manner or a negative manner for Everton. I.e., if we go 1-0 down and fans are screaming and shouting and this, that and the other, they'll drop their heads and they'll hide, like they've done time and time again. If something happens in the opening 5 minutes which gets us up, they'll react to that and they'll think, actually, do you know what? We'll do more of that. We'll do more of that, like they did in the game against Tottenham. So we have to use, for me, the crowd as in our advantage, but it starts with the players. Ultimately, all as we can do as fans is get our ticket, pay for our ticket, which the majority of us have already done. Get ready, go to the game, show your ticket to the the person who works in the booth or the machine. Get in, sit on your chair. That's all we can do. Beyond that point, as soon as that whistle goes at 8:15, we are not in control. It's not down to us to run on the pitch and make a tough challenge. It's not down to us to give 110% and show that desire. We'll react to that. We will. But this isn't going to be a case of 10 minutes before the game, Everton chants, in my opinion anyway, Everton chants are ringing out around the ground, or, this, that and the other. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll go the other way. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it will go the complete other way where, fans are that fuming and that, sort of on the brink of explosion, emotional explosion, that, we do start singing and we do get in their faces and we do go that way. But ultimately, as I said, it starts on the pitch. It really, really does start on the pitch with these players. And for me, in regards to the manager, he's spoken today in his pre-game press conference. I actually thought it would be a really, really interesting pre-game press conference, because I thought, he'll be asked a lot of questions about Liverpool, about his time at Liverpool, about the Merseyside derby, how much it means, all of this sort of stuff. And he was, but it was very much... he kept it very, so I suppose as you would expect, the derby's exciting. It's a good opportunity for us to get back on the board. We want to win it. The players this, that, and the other. Very sort of, typical stuff you would expect to read. If you were to read a manual of what an Everton manager should say before the Merseyside derby, it was pretty much everything that Rafa Benitez said today. We did get some injury news. The manager did confirm that Yerry Mina and Dominic Calvert-Lewin are still unavailable. They are both still out injured. Andre Gomez has returned to training with the side. However, again, as to whether or not he will be involved tomorrow is another question. But yeah, as I said, it was very, very sort of as you would expect. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing like no digs at Liverpool, and I wouldn't expect Rafa Benitez to. I think he's got a lot more respect than that. I don't think any Evertonian was expecting him to turn up today and start throwing shade left, right and centre at Liverpool, because it would have just embarrassed him, because we know that's not how he feels about them. It would have just been a sort of rally cry almost, and we know as a football club, from the likes of Seamus Coleman and however many other players have come out during the past and said, oh, we need to do better, this, that and the other, we need to, we need to show more. It's all a load of nonsense. Go and show it on the pitch. But I can't help but feel like this is make or break for Rafa Benitez. And I'm not necessarily saying he will be sacked after the Merseyside derby, dependent, whatever the results will be. And I'm not necessarily saying I think that's the right decision, because as I've said on a number of occasions before, there are much bigger issues at this football club than Rafa Benitez, and there's been much bigger issues at this football club years before Rafa Benitez was here, and there probably will be years after Rafa Benitez has left the football club. We've just spoken briefly about the board, and we are going to do a separate live stream talking specifically just about the board. However, is Rafa Benitez a problem? Well, for me at the moment he is, because we've gone 2 months without a win. We haven't looked interested in 90% of the games that we've played in that time frame. The players seem void of ideas. We can't create chances. He persists with the same players despite them letting us down week in, week out. And some of his decision making, i.e. not throwing the kitchen sink at it on Sunday and only making 1 out of a possible 3 substitutions, baffles me. And those are the types of tactical ineptncies, I don't even know if that's a word, but it is now, that we simply can't afford at this football club, certainly given the fact that we are flying quickly and worryingly towards the relegation places. I think we'd join 17th if we lose tomorrow, which is a very, very big possibility. So I think this is make or break for Rafa Benitez. I really, really do. We spoke interestingly, and I don't want to be too negative in this preview, because listen, it's the Merseyside derby and anything could happen, and I know I've spoken to a lot of Evertonians recently who've said they remember us being bottom of the league and fighting relegation, and Liverpool were top and sure to win it, and we turned up and absolutely battered them, and that's happened on a couple of occasions over the years. But the reality of the situation is when Rafa Benitez first signed on that dotted line, one of my biggest worries was, well, what happens if we're in a really bad run of form? We get to the Merseyside derby at Goodison, they go 2-0 up early on because they're very good and we're not, and their fans start singing Rafa Benitez's name, or the old Merry Christmas Everton chants and all of that nonsense. And I was told, don't be so negative, Cam, what happens if we're in a great run of form and we win 2 or 3-0? And that was absolutely right at the time. There's 2 ways of looking at it. I suppose you're either an optimist or a pessimist, but the reality of the situation is now, being a realist, that's where we are now. It is a very likely possibility that we could be 2 or 3-0 down in the opening 15-20 minutes tomorrow, because they're a very good football team and we're shite at the minute, and those chants start to come out. Is Rafa Benitez going to acknowledge the Liverpool fans? I don't know. I would highly suggest him not doing, if he wants to, stay in a job, as long as possible. But that's where my sort of issue with this comes in, or that's where my worry, I suppose, comes in with this. If we lose this game and lose it comfortably tomorrow and comprehensively tomorrow, is there a way out for Rafa Benitez after that? Is there a way? If this was any other manager, would they have survived 2 wins without 2 months without a win? And I know you could say he's only been in the job a number of months. Nuno was only in the Spurs job a number of months, and he was moved on very, very, very quickly. We've seen many a manager over the years, only in a job short term, moved on very quickly. because they weren't the right fit for the job. And look at Spurs now. Okay, they're still not very good, but they've gone and got one of the best managers in world football to replace Nuno. So, realistically speaking, let's say Everton get our arses handed to us tomorrow, which is very possible. Should the manager stay in a job? I would argue that he shouldn't. Now, I get that he's not the only issue. I get that there's much deeper issues, and I get that, that we need to sit down and have a serious conversation about those, and I get that he's only been here, for a matter of months, and he didn't have no transfer budget in the summer. I get all of that, and injuries have been an absolute killer, and I think that had we have had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Yerry Mina, Abdoulaye Doucouré and Richarlison fit for consistently over the last couple of months, we probably would have picked up an awful lot more points than what we have. But I it's one of those situations where I'm going to be honest, I don't really see a way back for them if we lose comprehensively tomorrow. I just don't. Whether that's right or wrong, whether there's bigger issues at the football club or not, whether we've had injuries, whether we've had, not much money to spend in the summer, etc. I just don't see a way back for the manager if we're embarrassed tomorrow. Especially considering, and again, I know social media isn't a representation of all Evertonians, but there's a lot of Evertonians on social media who are already very much, wanting Rafa Benitez to move out the football club. But also, it's not just a Rafa Benitez needs to leave, because we're losing games. He's not faultless, and that's what I want to convey. I don't think he has to leave because some people will say, oh yeah, we had no money to spend now, and injuries and this, that and the other, and all of that, and I get all that, and I get they all factor into it, and I get that had he have been a little bit more lucky with injuries, and had Everton have not absolutely wasted £500 million over the last 5 years, we may have been in a much better situation. I understand that, but the manager, when you go 2 months without a win, and you're playing sides like Watford, Wolves, Brentford, Tottenham, who aren't very good at the time. Okay, City. I'd say City are the only team in that period that we've played that you sort of go into the game thinking we ain't going to get anything out of this. Every other game is beyond winnable, and we haven't picked up a single win in any of them. Not only that, but we're going into a run of fixtures against 5, 6, 7 teams that we mightn't pick up another point in. Crystal Palace at the moment, very resilient, looking good. Obviously you've got Chelsea who will beat us. You've got Leicester who aren't great at the moment, but I still think are in a better situation than us. So he's not inexcusable. His decision making is being beyond baffling. I've seen bad decisions from Everton managers over the years. Many a bad decision from Roberto Martinez, Ronald Koeman, Marco Silva, even Carlo Ancelotti made some shocking decisions during his time at the football club. But I don't think I've ever quite seen us losing 1-0 in a must-win game to a really bad side and a manager only make one substitution in that game. Forget who's on the bench and his options to only make one substitution and to keep 2 or 3 players on that were absolutely useless. That for me is the epitome of awful management. And I'm not saying he's an awful manager, but that to me is one of the reasons as to why I think he might lose his job had we, if we're completely embarrassed tomorrow. There'll be a lot of pressure on the board for Rafa Benitez to be moved on if we're comprehensively beaten. Certainly if we don't, give it 110% and don't put the effort in and don't work hard. And the board, I think, obviously we had the banner in the Brentford game, which was brilliant, by the way. Shout out to the Bullens, view from the Bullens, obviously creators who made that banner, and it's absolutely spot on. And I think the board will start to worry that the attention will be moved on to them, and that fans are now starting to actually say, hang on a minute, let's not just look at the manager and the players. These people in charge are fucking useless. And I think a way of combating that might be, well, we'll sack the manager then, because that's what you want. We'll sack the manager. Don't look at us. We've sacked him. Who's going to be the next manager? I think that might, that could be the case. Anyway, let's get into talking a bit more about the game, our game plan, what it should be. Obviously, we're going to have to talk a little bit about them for a moment because they are a threat ultimately they're a massive, massive threat. We are going to give my predicted starting 11 a little bit later on in the live stream, and we will be getting in the live comments in just a moment. I do want to say, by the way, 100 people watching, absolutely unbelievable support. Thank you all so much. It means a massive, massive amount to me. If you could hit that like button, it would mean a absolutely monumental amount to me. It really, really would. And if you could subscribe, that would be absolutely perfect as well. It literally takes a second. It's completely free, and it means a massive amount to me. Yeah. Let's get in the live comments then, before we move on to talking a little bit more about the game. I don't know if anybody else feels like me, but I am absolutely fucking dreading this. I'm not looking forward to. I never do look forward to derbies. I hate Merseyside derbies. I absolutely despise them. I never look forward to them. I'm never excited for them. They ruin my week, sometimes even month, depending on the performance and the result. Yes, if you win, they make your week and they make your month, and that's all brilliant. But more often than not, over recent years, we haven't been winning. Okay, we won last time out, which was great, but none of us were there to see it. So I absolutely hate them. And this one, I'm dreading. I sort of liking this one, and we will get in the comments in a second. By the way, I've just had another sort of talking point. So I'm gonna mention it. I sort of liken this one to Marco Silva's second season, because that was another Merseyside derby where I sort of went into thinking we're going to get absolutely demolished there, and the manager shouldn't really be in a job. He lost to Norwich, which was very similar to our loss to Brentford the other day. The pressure started to pile on him. The board decided to keep him in a job with the thought process that he might go to Anfield and get a result. We went to Anfield, I think we lost 5-2 or something like that, and he was sacked the night before. But that feeling that I had going into that game on that day was very similar to the feeling that I've got today. Almost of sort of acceptance that we're going to get absolutely bounced everywhere. And I know it's a derby, and listen, this one's at Goodison. If this one was at Anfield, I don't think I'd even spend 10 minutes talking about it, because I'd just say, listen, get in there, get out, because these players aren't capable of getting anything. But it's at Goodison, so it will be different. Hopefully the crowd will be up for it, the atmosphere will be there, hopefully. But I've got that feeling I've got going into this one is the same feeling I had going into that Marco Silva one. It's that feeling of I don't expect anything other than a comprehensive loss, and then a lot of sort of, as I said, cesspit of fume towards the manager and the board, and I just don't think listen, this sounds stupid because it's a Merseyside derby, and this is obviously the case, but this is going to go one of two ways tomorrow. It's either going to be a massively surprising, unbelievable night for us Evertonians, even if you still don't want Rafa Benitez as the manager, even if you still think that there's problems with the board. Listen, if we win tomorrow, I'll be sitting here on my instant match reaction, absolutely over the moon, screaming, shouting, I'll be absolutely, you won't be able to see through me smile. I'll be smiling for weeks. Doesn't mean that all is forgiven. Doesn't mean that I forgive Everton for going 2 months without a win. Doesn't mean that I forgive the board for being inept. Doesn't mean I forgive Marcel Brands for not doing his job properly, or the players for not showing the care in most of the games this season. But I'll still be absolutely over the moon because we've just won a Merseyside derby. Or it could go the other way, which is very much the fume, the disappointment, the upset, and as I said, this growing, and this is the most worrying thing, this growing feeling amongst a lot of Evertonians, which is of disinterest. That's my biggest fear. My biggest fear isn't being upset with Everton, or being annoyed with Everton, or being angry with Everton, or being emotional with Everton. My biggest fear at the minute is becoming disinterested with Everton, and at the moment, I don't see the board changing. And whilst the board is here, certain members on the board are here, we will never be anything more than mid-table mediocre, and that's fact I was going to say in my opinion, but for me it's fact. Anyway, let's get into the live comments then. I'll stop rambling now. Eugene says, Farhad Mashiri and Alsha Usmanov stance on Everton. Yeah, seen that in the Echo before. Philip is waving. What's happening? Philip Wayne says, yeah, he is right, my mate. Eugene says, Alan Stubbs is chatting about Everton on Sky. Nice for him, mate, nice for him. Wayne says, Phil. Jason says, hi Cam, hi everybody. Don't forget, by the way, if you're watching live and you're enjoying, hit those likes. Can we get the likes up? That'd be absolutely brilliant. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe as well. Hi Cam lad, says James. Goodison Blues says, if he gets thrashed, his job won't be worth the wages he's getting. Be so toxic every game. Yeah, I sort of do feel that way, to be honest, mate. Wayne says, they might play the kids, not that it would necessarily help. Dinner lady is probably better than a woman. And I was actually I was talking to a couple of Liverpool fans recently, a couple of my mates, and they made some really good points about Jurgen Klopp and his history of playing sort of a rotated squad in Merseyside derbies over the years, and he's almost done it to intentionally disrespect Everton. He did it in the FA Cup when he played a load of young lads who hadn't had much experience, and they beat us. He's done it before in Premier League games where they've played the likes of Origi, Lallana, they've rested some of the bigger players, and they've beaten us. And it's almost an even bigger sort of kick me while I'm down, isn't it? Not only can you not step toe-to-toe with our first team, but even our reserves that don't really get a game can beat you comprehensively. And whilst I don't think that they'll do that tomorrow, because I think he will have seen the derby last time out, and he'll almost understand that there's a lot of... I think Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool would be silly to underestimate what a hard tackle in the first 5 minutes could do for Everton and the crowd and the atmosphere. And you know, the one, I suppose, positive about the way we're all feeling at the moment, if you did want to twist the positive on it, is that this emotion will come out one way or the other tomorrow, and it is very possible that it comes out in a positive vein. So let's just hope that's the case. James says they're clinically on fire. We have to battle out. We can. I'm not sure. Yeah, we're going to talk about them lot in a second, because we have to. Let's be honest. Philip says he's got even worse. Ray Kennedy has unfortunately passed away. Yes, he has. Rest in peace to Ray Kennedy, of course. Gord says still questioning why I took work off tomorrow to watch the derby when I dread how we performed. Yeah. Brave decision, my mate. Brave decision. William says, hopefully I don't have to see a Wobie tomorrow. Stephen says, I'm going to have to get really pissed for this one. I'm on the edge after the last few months. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about the Van Dijk stuff, Jason, because I'm bored of him bringing it up, to be honest. Carter says, I have a feeling that Goodison is going to be the most toxic it's been in a long time on Wednesday. Could be, mate. Very, 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 very possible. Very possible. Eugene says, Boss gives team injury update. Gary says, do you think if we lose tomorrow it's the end for Benitez, or will the board stick with him? I don't know, but I don't really see a way back for him. If we, it depends. If you know, listen, if we lose and we're fighting and we're battling and we're working hard and we lose to a bad refereeing decision, which is very possible, then, you know, maybe a lot of fans will look and go, well, do you know what, we were a lot better there. If we lose comprehensively and these players, again, don't show any fight or desire or commitment or care, then I think there'll be a lot of fans that'll turn on him. Wayne says, Cam, there's an argument for using all the subs, but there's also an argument for not putting young players in the firing line and ask their confidence subbing them in to that shower of shite. As I said, when your options are really limited, you're so damned if you do, damned you don't. I agree. But even taking away Lewis Dobbin and Ellis Sims the other night, Cenk Tosun was on the bench. Now, I know, and I know as much as any Evertonian, Cenk Tosun isn't the answer. You know, he's not our, you know, Jamie Vardy or Robin Van Persie. He's not. But Cenk Tosun surely offers you something more than Solomon Rondon. So even if you don't want to put the young players in the firing line, even if you don't want to take that risk, surely there had to be some way of changing it. Even fucking putting Decore up front and taking Rondon off would have been a better option for me than just staying with the same, same team and tactics. As I said, if you are enjoying, please hit that thumbs up button. It means a lot. If you're new, subscribe. Adam says, hi Cam, do you think we'll win Liverpool? Gut feeling is no, I don't. Wormy says, I agree, Phil. Ellis isn't fully fit, so not ready, and Dobbin is not as good as Gray and Gordon, so no change to make there. Interesting. Let's get back into talking about the game anyway, because I think it's important too. Chris says, hard tackling hasn't been the same for 10 years in the Premier League. I get, when I say a hard challenge, I don't necessarily mean a silly two-footed, you know, Vinny... what was his name? Vinny Hughes, was it? Who's the actor now? Something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Roy Keane-esque, Duncan Ferguson-esque two-footed challenge. We saw it in the last derby, and I think the last derby should be an indication that, you know, an Everton player puts in even a remotely sort of controversial challenge tomorrow, the referee will be all over it, because them lot will have been in the ear of the FA all week saying, watch out for these. Klopp would have been in the ear saying, any dodgy tackles, I want them dealt with, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying fly in with a two-footer like an idiot, but I'm saying if the ball is there to be won and you can be confident that you can win it, do it in a manner that lifts the crowd. Do it in a manner, not go through the player, not injure the player, Vinnie Jones, that was it. Not do anything stupid, but lift the crowd. You know, even if a Liverpool player goes over and it's sort of a dive or, you know, a bit of an easy fall, go over and get in his face, get down there. Because then what's bound to happen is that Liverpool player will get up and react, and then the crowd will jump on that. And that's when Coleman needs to be over there in faces, and Alan needs to, and there needs to be that camaraderie. That's what we want to feel as fans going into Goodison Park tomorrow. We want to feel the camaraderie. I've said time and time again over the last couple of weeks, I have never felt this disconnected to an Everton team in my entire life. I've never felt this disconnected to a football club. You know, the disconnection between the fans and the players is absolutely, it's sad. The disconnection between the fans and the management is sad. The board and the players, the board and the fans, it's just sad. There's no connection there. It doesn't feel like we're singing off the same hymn sheet. It doesn't feel like that we're wanting the same things. It doesn't feel like that they care as much as we care. They want what we want, and that includes the likes of Seamus Coleman, by the way, who's been here an awful long time. It doesn't feel like that we're one big sort of family. We're Everton. You know, it doesn't matter if you pay the £100 a week and you're wearing the shirt, or you pay £500 a year to watch us and you're in the stands. We're Everton. We're all Everton. We fight for Everton. We play for Everton. That's what I want to see tomorrow. Doesn't need to be an hard challenge, but be clever with it. You know, if a Liverpool player, as I said, goes over, get in their face, evoke a reaction from them, and that naturally will mean that their players will start to react, and then get over there, get in the faces, don't be scared, don't back off, stop being Mr. Nice Guy. I'm bored of Everton apologising for trying to play football. Oh, sorry that we made that tackle. Oh, sorry that we had that shot. Or we won't drive this ball forward because, you know, you might get worried defensively. Or we won't get in your face even though you've just dived on the floor blatantly because that might offend you. Get in there. That's the only way for me that these players are going to grip the crowd tomorrow, is showing that they care. Because I can tell you now, whilst I can sit here on you know, the Mighty Blues, and whilst, you know, the lads at Toffee TV or the Toffee Blues or you know, the Blue Boys Network or Everton Rose or any Everton YouTube channel out there, I apologise if I've missed you, by the way, can sit there and say, you know, we're disconnected from the players, or these players don't care. And I still feel like these players don't particularly care. I still feel like these players aren't particularly that arsed about playing for Everton or earning the money. And I'll probably still think that after tomorrow. But if I'm sat at Goodison Park in the Park End in the fucking freezing cold at 8:17 tomorrow, and Ben Goffrey gets in someone's face, and then everyone crowds it and getting him, and the whole crowd's up and shouting, for that moment, I'll feel like they all care. Now, it might all be a big facade and a load of shit, but that facade and load of shit might be the only way that we get anything out this game tomorrow. We still mightn't. Because they're still an exceptional team, and ultimately we're still shite. But the team, for me, simply have to use the crowd to their advantage tomorrow. They just do. Let's have a brief chat about them lot then. We will keep it brief, I promise. We won't go on too much because I understand that people don't really want to hear me talking about Liverpool. But they are the opposition tomorrow, as I said. Stripping back the fact it's a Merseyside derby, they are a very good side. Currently third in the Premier League. 8 wins, 4 draws and 1 loss. Obviously, they are in a title race. I don't think anybody could disagree with that. I think it's between Liverpool, Chelsea and City, and if I'm being honest, and I'm not just saying this because I'm an Everton fan and I don't like them, I think Liverpool will arguably feel like out of those 3 teams, they're the side that can't afford a slip up. Maybe Manchester City, but I think Chelsea are the team at the moment that are looking like they're sort of, you know, again, as I said, not much, you know, not much further ahead of the other two, but certainly for me ahead of the other two. So there's absolutely no room for error for this Liverpool team, and Jurgen Klopp and these players will know that, and that's why I don't think he'll play a weakened or a rotated team tomorrow, because I think he'll understand that if he does that and they don't win, then there'll be a lot of sort of questioning from the Liverpool fans as to winning a really tight title race. We need to win as many games as possible. This Everton team, is arguably there for the taking. Why are you rotating the squad when we can't, we can't really afford it? So I do think we'll see the strongest side, which means I do think we'll see the likes of Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, maybe Jota, Fabinho in the midfield, Van Dijk in the back line, Alexander-Arnold. Listen, I don't need to sit here and talk through this squad because, again, we can be bitter, we can be twisted, we can hate them, we can, wish them all of the failure in the world. The reality is they're a very, very, very good footballing team. A very, very, very good footballing team with a manager who is the king of emotion, the king of riding off of the back of the crowd, running in the stand when they score and running on the pitch and all of this sort of stuff. And we might sit here and go, cop-out behaviour that. Cop-out behaviour that. Look at how embarrassing that is. Look at Jurgen Klopp there having a go at referees, having a go at managers. Look at him hugging his players there. Cop-out behaviour. But all of those players are thinking, this fella's amazing. Because they've got that connection with him. And all of their fans are thinking, this team and this fella's amazing. Because they've got that connection. We haven't got that connection with Rafa Benitez, and I don't think the players have. And I'm not saying I want Rafa Benitez to turn up and start hugging players and running up the touchline, because that would be a little bit fake, because he's not that type of manager. But what I do want to see is some emotion. I want to see some emotion. Now, typically, over the last, however many months, years, Duncan Ferguson has been very, very, very vocal on the bench. We saw it under Ancelotti. He was up and down. He was running around. He was screaming. He was shouting. Now, I don't know whether he's being told to calm it down. I don't know whether he's being told to not. But recently, we haven't really seen an awful lot of that from Duncan Ferguson. Now, if he has been told to calm it down, then whoever's told him that can fuck off, in my opinion. Simple as that. Simple as that. Look at the best manager in this league, that fella over there who we just mentioned, up and down the touchline, in people's faces, in the officials' faces when they don't make a decision, forcing VAR to look at things, all over his players. The opposition players have a go, the opposition manager has a go, he's there. Pep Guardiola started to do it. Now, Pep Guardiola wasn't that, really that type of manager in Spain or Germany, but he's come into the Premier League and he's understood that you've got to have a bit more personality on the sideline. You've got to be emotional. You've got to get involved with it. So if anybody at the club has told Duncan Ferguson, and I don't know whether this is the case or it isn't, but I'm just basing off the fact that we haven't really seen him as emotional as you would expect, considering how bad Everton have been recently. If anybody has said, oh, don't be doing that, don't be doing any of that, then fuck off, in my opinion. Because the Duncan Ferguson that managed Everton 3 times during his interim term, and in the game that we beat Chelsea, when he was running up the touchline, hugging ball boys, some opposition fans might go, that's cringy, that. Look at that, that's embarrassing. That's the best I've felt at Goodison Park for years, and I've not felt that good at Goodison Park since. And I'm not saying Duncan Ferguson should be the manager, and I'm not saying this, that and the other, but that, and I'm just saying it how it is, that is how the best I have felt at Goodison Park in a long time. And you know what? It's also the most connected I felt like the players were to a manager in a long, long time. So if Rafa Benitez doesn't want to do the emotional screaming, shouting, getting in the face of Jurgen Klopp, getting in the face of the officials like he does, then let Duncan Ferguson do it. Say to Duncan, don't worry about whoever said whatever. Get up and go and show that emotion. As I said, it starts on the pitch. These players need to show that they care, but I want to see a bit of emotion from the dugout as well. I want to see a bit of passion. I don't want to see sitting down, writing notes on a pad and paper. I want to see that passion. I want to see the screaming. I want to see the shouting, like you see from Pep Guardiola. As James says, Conte does it. We need more of that. Like Conte does, like Klopp does. I want to see that. As I said yesterday when we talked about the Brentford game, VAR specifically can be manipulated, comfortably be manipulated, easily. Had Solomon Rondon had gone over to the referee on Sunday and said, I've just been ragged everywhere there, and then 4, 5, 6 Everton players crowded the referee and said the same thing, there would have been a much more thorough look into that decision, and the referee would have been more than likely told to go and look at the monitor and go and assess it and see what he thinks, and who knows, we might have had a penalty out of that. So For me, I want to see a bit of emotion on the sideline, I do. And ultimately, listen, that might, again, I'm saying things that mightn't necessarily mean anything. Obviously, the tactics have got to be there. We've got to manage this game perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Because they're a much better footballing side than we are, and it's difficult. It is difficult. I get it's difficult for Rafa Benitez because he's probably looking at it thinking, well, if I go toe-to-toe and try and play football with them, I'll lose. We can't really do the old 1980s, just get into them and go hard in on them, because we'll end up with about 3 men sent off and we'll lose that way. But there's got to be a tactic there. Counter-attacking, I think, is probably our best option tomorrow, but we're still without Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Richarlison, yes, will be back, which is important, and we're going to talk about my predicted starting 11 in just a moment, because I think it's important too. But we have to be sure to not give them, too much respect. Because ultimately, this Liverpool team doesn't need any respect. It doesn't. They're one of the best teams in the league. I'll openly admit that. It kills me to admit it, but I'll openly admit it. They're one of the best teams in the league. They don't need this Everton side to say, wow, these are amazing. Look at the way he's just ran past me there without any problem, and I've just stood here and watched. Wow, look at the way he's just put that ball in there. Get into them, make it hard for them. I said it about the City game last week, and we didn't do any of it. We simply didn't do any of it. Make it hard for them. We might lose this game, no matter how we go into it. No matter how we play, no matter what the tactic is, no matter how hard we work, we might still lose this game of football. But make it tough for them. Work hard. That's all I ask for. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Damari Gray scored an hat-trick, or Richarlison scored an hat-trick, or this, that and the other. I'm not going to sit here and say that, because ultimately at the moment it's very unlikely. I'm not going to sit here and say Michael Keane, single-handedly mark Mohamed Salah out the game, because Michael Keane isn't capable of doing that, in my opinion. Certainly if Mohamed Salah is at his very best, if he has an off game, maybe, but if he's at his very best, we're not going to be able to do that. And I get that, as I said earlier on in the opening 5 minutes of the team, at the very base of this, they are a much better side than we are. But there's no excuse, as I say every week, and I feel like a broken record, and I'm sorry about saying it every week, but there is simply no excuse for not working hard, especially in a fucking Merseyside derby. There is no excuse for these players to not leave absolutely everything they've got on that pitch tomorrow. Simply no excuse whatsoever. We've got to get the crowd on our side, turn that emotion and fury and frustration into emotion and fury and frustration, and towards sort of, I suppose, the referee or one of their players. Get behind the players. But we've also got to tactically be spot on tomorrow. Defensively, there's absolutely no room for error. It goes without saying. There's absolutely no margin for error tomorrow. None at all. Not even a sad, not even a smudge. There is absolutely no margin for error. Offensively, whichever the front three is, and we will be doing my predicted starting 11 in a moment. If you're watching live, by the way, please hit that thumbs up button. Over 150 people watching. That is unbelievable. The likes are on 53. If you could get them maybe to even 70, that would be fantastic. Please do hit that like button. And if you're new and you're watching and you're thinking, when can I get more of this? We'll have the instant match reaction out instantly tomorrow. As soon as I walk in from the ground, and I only live 10 minutes away, the instant match reaction will be up. Positive result, negative result, winning the game, losing the game, drawing the game, the instant match reaction will be up, and the play ratings will be up straight after. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back live again on Thursday with the game review to the derby. So hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you're new. Obviously, we're going to have to be a lot better creatively than what we have been recently. The simple fact of the matter is we're not creating chances. And you're not going to score goals if you're not creating chances. It's as simple as that. Defensively, yes, we've got to be so much better. We know that. But offensively, we've got to start creating chances. I would like to hope that Richarlison will start up front tomorrow with either, obviously Gray, Townsend, Gordon, whoever it may be that the manager decides to start on the wing. But for me, as I said, if you get a counter attack, make use of it. None of this Alex Iwobi getting a good run on goal and stopping and turning round. None of this nonsense. If you get an opportunity, take the opportunity, because this is again, for as good as they are defensively, they're very solid as well. They don't typically give teams a lot of chances. They did with West Ham a couple of weeks ago, and you can beat them, and you can certainly hurt them. And if you get 1 or 2 chances and you take them, then sometimes they go a little bit, ropey. So it's very possible, but we've got to be able to take those chances, and we haven't been taking them chances recently. Damari Gray has got to be at his absolute peak. Richarlison has got to have his best game in an Everton shirt tomorrow. Best game in an Everton shirt. And I like Richarlison being in there because he winds them up. I don't want him to do anything. He needs to be sat down 5 minutes before the game and told, listen, you've just been suspended for 5 yellow cards. That doesn't mean you can go out and openly get another one, because for what you might think is a yellow card challenge, the referee might deem as a red card challenge. You got a red card in the Merseyside derby at Goodison last year. So nothing stupid, but wind them up, get in their faces, frustrate them. If you feel a little nudge, go down holding your face, because it's very unlikely you'll get carded for diving. I wouldn't be surprised, but if you feel a little nudge, go down, rolling round, holding your face, and everybody else get around the referee if he does. Force them into making a decision, wind them up, frustrate them, get under their skin, because I think that's one of the only ways we're going to get something out of this game tomorrow, if we can get under the skin and frustrate them. So, as I said, it's not just about the fans, or or the working hard, or the getting under the skin, all of that sort of stuff. We've got to be very, very good tomorrow. Very, very, very good. And we've almost got to hope that Liverpool have a little bit of an off day. That's as far as I see it. We simply need to create, chances. We simply need to create more chances than we have been in recent weeks. We need to convert those chances, and defensively we've got to be at our very, very best. Anyway, let's get back into the live comments before we give my predicted starting 11, because it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one, and then we'll finish up talking a little bit more about the game as well. Kieran Rand says, hey Cam, we're going to go from bottom and we're going to try and work our way up. I'll try and get as many done as possible, bearing in mind there is absolutely loads of comments, so I probably won't get through them all. Again, as I said, 160 people watching. The support is just unbelievable, so thank you all so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Keenan Rand says, hey Cam, how do you feel going into the derby? I'm dreading it, if I'm being honest with you, mate. I'm dreading it, but there you go. Official Keenan, which isn't Keenan Rants, but again, another very good YouTuber, as is Keenan Rants, says, I've never been so frustrated and nervous going into a derby. I'm not even nervous, to be honest. I'm not nervous, I'm just dreading it. I'm just dreading it, because nerves would almost indicate for me that, there's a chance we could get absolutely battered here, so I'm nervous about that. I'm sort of expecting that. So, Boki said, leave a like, Blues, for Cam. Thank you very much, my mate. Light Up the Dark says, fear is a sickness. They need to lose it. All the players work rate is essential for confidence. Spot on, my mate. Neil says, come on, you Blues. Keep it tight for an hour and get the fans on side up the toffees. Yet, spot on. Awesome support. Cam is awesome, says James. Is right, my mate. I play Delph Allen and Decore. Drop a Wobie, says James. We're going to get into that in a moment. Dennis says, most of his cards were diving, weren't they? Were for diving. Probably. But I just don't think he'll get carded for, especially if there's contact, or there's something there. I'm not just saying throw yourself on the floor, obviously. I think I'll get smashed and sleep all tomorrow, says James. Official Keane says, I'll be confident if we can keep it 0-0 at half time. Key LFC says, secret Rafa got his Liverpool top on underneath his suit. I mean, he hasn't. And it's not the agent Rafa thing that is the reason why a lot of Blues want him out. It's the fact that tactically he's not been very good. What the F says, Robert, at Everton fans' team, and these players have had top 5 managers. Wake up. It's the players, and don't forget most of these players. I agree. I think the players are a problem. I think the manager's a problem at the moment. I think the board are a problem. I think the director of football is a problem. I think there's a lot of problems within Everton Football Club, but I agree. The players are certainly up there. Martin says, we need to turn the toxic feelings into hostility towards the red shite. It's the only hope we have. I agree. Maybe Gordon is a number 10, but he won't. Has to be 5 in midfield, says James. Lights Up the Dark says, championship contenders next year, no matter who's manager. If they don't go all out, dogs are war for points. The irony is, if we get relegated, I don't think we will be championship contenders next year. I don't think we'll come back up. Neil says, I felt worse in December 2005. It was 3-1. What stand you in tomorrow's camp? I can't even remember that game, to be honest. I was very, very young. I'm in the Park End, mate, where I am every single week. Pokey says, Benitez has been dealt a dirty hand, coming into a squad thin as fuck, thinnest I've ever seen, spine of our first team out, Godfrey coming back after long COVID. Yeah, fair enough. I get that there's elements of it, injuries and obviously lack of transfer budget and stuff. I understand that, but it's just some decisions that I can't really sort of understand. They can rip that sign down from Finch Farm if they don't put the hard work in tomorrow, says Cal. I agree. I think it should have been ripped down a long time ago, but you're spot on. Thomas says, if Godfrey, Alan and Richarlison go crunching into one of their players tomorrow and get the crowd up straight away, we could have a real good chance. They could go into a shell. That's it, mate. 165 people in the chat hit the like. Thank you very much. Carl Whamey says, plus we can't afford to get players injured. I get that, Whamey. I do get that. But again, I'm not saying stupid tackles where we're going to get injured or they're going to get injured. Just little mind game scenarios that could get the crowd on board. We've got to get the crowd on board tomorrow. It's as simple as that. Boot Brands out, says light up the darkness. Liverpool are light years away from Everton, says Dennis. I wouldn't disagree, if I'm honest. If we win, I'm on the drink until New Year, says Cal. Martin says, in Benitez press conference today, he basically said it's all about the new stadium. He said that he basically said it's not all negative, we've got a new stadium, which a lot of people fumed at that comment. I find it funny because he's not going to come out and say, yeah, it's fucking shite here, mate, there's nothing going for us, we're absolutely shit, the board are wank, I can't make a decent substitution, we're awful. He's not going to come out and say that, is he? Thomas says, Cam, if we win tomorrow, do you think Rafa gives himself some more space? Also would let Duncan Ferguson do the team talk for the game. He won't let them go out and put a shite performance in. That's what I'm saying about Duncan Ferguson being on the sideline, showing that emotion. If Rafa Benitez isn't that type of manager and doesn't want to do that and he's more tactical, that's fine. But I think we need that. And I think Duncan Ferguson should be in there doing a team talk. Whether or not he does or not, we don't know. But to answer to your question, I think he'll get more time, yes. I think he'd probably get more time even if we lose. It's just, I think a lot of the fans will have seen their arse if that's the case. Cal says, if it was a foul on Rondon in anyone's book, shouldn't have gone down. Yeah. Crimson says, I want Rafa in Whamey. The board needs to go. It's a joke. Key says, last team who tried getting emotional was Arsenal the other week. Listen, mate. You know that you've got more of a chance of winning than we have, so you're arguing against yourself. James says, Duncan will be one day, lad, don't worry. Felt amazing that day against Chelsea. Whamey says, I agree, Crimson. I'm not saying Rafa is doing what he can do with what he has, which ain't much. Fans need to direct their anger at the board. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, my mate, I agree. Crimson says, after red shite, no. Carl says, Thomas, they don't just pretend they don't care to wind us up. I think they care. They care. They're bother the battles. Same old Everton says, hello Cameron, hello my mate. Martin says Everton 1, Liverpool 0, let's hope so. Thomas says, Cameron, don't get why they think United are their biggest rivals. Yeah, listen, they yeah, there you go. Let them think whoever else is their biggest rivals. There's a couple of Liverpool fans in here today, actually, that I've seen in the live comments. Welcome, leave a like. No point in disliking, because you can't see how many dislikes I've got anyway. Leave a like and subscribe while you're here. City fan as well. Zero T says City fan here. Please, I don't think I can say that word. Please beat Liverpool tomorrow. I'm certainly not going to say that. But thanks anyway. There you go. Listen, anyway, let's get into my predicted starting 11 then, before we do sort of finish up and I suppose conclude what is going to be an extremely difficult game of football for Everton tomorrow. Crimson says, a saving grace that teams can leapfrog, have tough games which can help stop us dropping into depths of relegation. My biggest worry with the relegation stuff isn't that we'll drop into the relegation zone, isn't that we will be fighting for relegation. My biggest worry is that these players, if we are in that situation, won't have the gut, the determination, the desire, the passion, the fight, the care to get out of that situation. And Key says, I'll give you a like, lad, no hard feelings. Nice one, my mate, nice one. Ned's in the chat. What's happening, my mate? Just got a PS5 today, so there you go. Lucky for Ned. He says, let's put all our frustration into the game and go all out. Rondon scores. I'm getting Rondon tattooed on my chin. If Rondon scores, I will never say a bad word about that fella again. Anyway, predicted starting 11 time. Who do I think Rafa Benitez will go with for tomorrow's game? Now, bearing in mind this is a prediction, But also, there's one position in there that's more of a hope rather than a prediction. But you'll see that a little bit later on in the prediction. So anyway, in goal, Jordan Pickford. Yeah, don't really need to say anything else, do I really? He's not done anything to suggest as to why he shouldn't be in the in the starting 11. And yeah, there you go. Jordan Pickford starts in goal. Back line, I've gone for Luca Dean at left back. I've gone for Ben Godfrey and Michael Keane at centre back with Seamus Coleman at right back. Now, whilst I think this is an Everton defence that is massively missing Yerry Mina. Yerry Mina is unavailable at the moment through injury. And there's not much else we can say about that. I do think he would have been a massive welcome back had he have been fit for this game. But ultimately he isn't fit for this game. So there's not much we can do about it, really. There just simply isn't much we can do about it. So, as I said, Luca Dean starts at left back. I want to see more from Luca Dean. I say it every week. I want to see more from him. I want balls into the box. I want chances created. I want him scoring goals. But first and foremost tomorrow, Luca Dean come out a couple of weeks ago quite interestingly and said, first and foremost, I'm a defender and I have to focus on me defending, before anything else. And that quote in itself is put into play tomorrow more than it is in any other game. Yes, it'll be great to see him bursting up the line, score, getting balls into the box, creating chances, maybe even scoring a goal tomorrow. But ultimately, with Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah on the wings for Liverpool, I can't remember which one plays on which wing. The defensive the defensive responsibility for Luca Dean tomorrow is paramount. It is number one, and it's the same with Seamus Coleman on the right hand side. Listen, I love Seamus as much as the next Evertonian. I think he's given a lot to this football club, and I think he is, a good role model. He shouldn't be anywhere near Everton's first team. That's the reality, and that's been the case for 3-4 years, maybe even longer. The reality is Seamus Coleman should have been replaced years ago. However, he hasn't, and he will be in that Everton team tomorrow. And what I want to see from Seamus, as well as his defensive responsibilities, which obviously goes without saying, and getting forward, I want to see him being a captain tomorrow. I want to see him being an Evertonian. You can be a professional footballer, you can be experienced, you can be, a role model. But for me, for Seamus tomorrow, go and be an Evertonian. It's as simple as that. Don't shake hands with them if they're falling on the floor or if they're crying to the referee. Don't, sort of apologise. I'm not saying don't go out and throw stupid tackling after stupid tackle, but go and be an Evertonian tomorrow. Go and get in the face. Go and work hard. Go and give it 110%. Go and battle. Go and fight. Go and act like any one of us would if we were on the pitch. Maybe not any one of us, because there's some Blues that are probably taking it a bit too far. Obviously, still be a professional and don't do anything stupid. And Seamus Coleman will be like that because he's an experienced footballer and he knows better. But go and be a Blue tomorrow. Instead of all this waving your arms after the game of fans, instead of all this, I'm dead sorry, it's not good enough shit every week, go and prove that you care tomorrow. It's as simple as that for Seamus Coleman. Go and prove that you care. Don't be going into the game thinking, right, I'm going to have to stand in front of these fans at the end and hold my hands up. Go and make sure that you don't have to stand in front of the fans at the end and go hold your hands up. Go and make sure that you can stand in front of the fans at the end of the game and the fans are cheering, singing 60 grand, screaming, shouting, loving it. Go and show that you're an Evertonian tomorrow for Seamus Coleman, in my opinion. Back line, Ben Godfrey, Michael Keane, of course. Not many other options. I actually don't think they were particularly that bad on Sunday. But it goes without saying, again, Salah, Mane, Jota, whoever else plays across that front line, is a massive threat, and those two simply have to be on their game. Now, there is a chance we could play a 5 at the back. I don't think that's likely, to be honest, given that Mason Holgate has had his fair share of dreadful derby performances and we've got no other options. So I do think it'll be a 4. However, as I said, for me, they've got to be at their best. And Michael Keane might be at his best tomorrow and it still mightn't be good enough. And the same might be said about Ben Godfrey. But all as we can ask is they're at their best. They're giving it 100%. They're working hard. And as I said, they're battling. They're getting in the face. They're not allowing the easy chances. They're not allowing easy sort of opportunities. Work hard and fight for the club. In the midfield then, I'm going with a 3-man midfield. This is where it changes a little bit to anything that we've usually seen. I'm going with Alan, Fabian Delph and Abdoulaye Doucouré. Fabian Delph and Alan playing a little bit deeper. And Abdoulaye Doucouré being that box-to-box, almost Marouane Fellaini-esque presence. The reality of the situation is we're still without Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which means a massive, massive goal threat is not in the side. Richarlison is still a big goal threat. However, of recent, he hasn't been as big of a goal threat as we maybe would have liked him to have been. Ultimately, you need somebody else in there that offers another option. Now, for me, what was quite evident on Sunday is we needed another midfielder in there. Not only did we need Solomon Rondon to come off and be replaced, but we needed another midfielder in there. And had we have had a Fabian Delph in there or a Jean-Philippe Gbamin, however, I don't think Jean-Philippe Gbamin is ready for this game, it would have allowed Abdoulaye Doucouré to step up. It would have allowed Abdoulaye Doucouré to move forward and ultimately be that sort of box-to-box-esque midfielder who can get back and do the defensive work, but also causes a threat going forward. I can see Abdoulaye Doucouré being on the scoreline tomorrow if Everton are on the scoreline. I really, really can. And I really, really hope that he is. However, yeah, as I said, for me, that is that's what I'd go with. I think the ability, the pace, the fitness of Abdoulaye Doucouré. I know he's only just come back. I get that. I understand that that's the case. Sorry about that. I was just reading. Somebody said in the live comments, isn't Delph injured? I was just checking to make sure he wasn't. Tom Davis is out injured. According to Rafa Benitez, no mention of Fabian Delph. Abdoulaye Doucouré's pace, his energy, and also his goal scoring ability. He can score goals, Abdoulaye Doucouré. He can score with his head. He can score with his feet. He can finesse the ball into the back of the net. He's quick. He can move his feet. He could be a real problem for Liverpool tomorrow. And that's why I'd have him further up forward. And I know he's still not fully fit, and I know that might hinder him a little bit. But ultimately, he's gonna play tomorrow. It's as simple as that. He's gonna play tomorrow. So I'd rather have him in a bit more of a forward-thinking role. However, also being able to get back and do his defending and have two sitting behind him. Therefore, Alan's got a bit of cover. Therefore, if Abdoulaye Doucouré is steaming in the box to take a shot and they defend it and counter, it's not just Alan on his own trying to chase back. There's Fabian Delph there as well. And I know them two aren't necessarily the fastest players, but it's better to have two than one. So that's the midfield I'd go with. And then the front line, I've gone with Richarlison up front. Goes without saying, of course. Solomon Rondon shouldn't be near this Everton team tomorrow. And again, I've got no personal vendetta against Solomon Rondon, and I do feel like he's being hung out to dry by the manager. However, Richarlison is ready, is back now, obviously after his suspension, and therefore Richarlison should be starting. End of story. And then I've gone with Mari Gray on one wing. Understandably, obviously got an injury against Manchester City. We saw him against Brentford for 20 minutes, and he put in two really, really good balls into the box and was our only real creator in that game, despite only being on for 10 or 15 minutes. And then I've actually gone with Anthony Gordon on the other side. It was a toss-up between Anthony Gordon and Andros Townsend, and I get some people mightn't be happy with that, and I get some people might throw frustration out. By the way, we're on 85 likes, 187 people watching. Could we get to 100 likes before the stream ends? That would be amazing. Only 15 likes. That would be absolutely brilliant. And if you are new, please hit that subscribe button as well. I get that might frustrate people. For me, Andros Townsend has been poor recently. He has. He's been poor, and I know he's been a goal scoring threat for us all season. And I know he works hard and he battles and he fights. And I know that he probably provides better defensive cover than Anthony Gordon does, and that might be the case for Rafa Benitez starting Andros Townsend over Anthony Gordon tomorrow. If he was to play a three in the midfield. However, when we talk about desire, when we talk about commitment, when we talk about passion, I understand every single Evertonian that has said, Anthony Gordon's done nothing. He hasn't created anything. He hasn't scored. He hasn't gotten any assists. He hasn't, really got... He's tried to take people on and he's lost the ball. I get all of that. I understand it completely. But even in not massively impressing, Anthony Gordon is still, for me, tried much harder than every other Everton player has on that pitch for a long time. And you can say trying hard isn't good enough, Cam. You need to be better than trying hard. I get that. But in a Merseyside derby, when you've got to get the fans behind you, and it's all a little bit, up in the air, emotion-wise, and feeling around the football club, why not put an Anthony Gordon in there who is going to run his arse off, who is going to work hard? 100 likes, thank you all very, very much, by the way, really appreciate it. Who is going to work hard, who is going to battle, who is going to fight, who is going to show his determination, his passion, isn't afraid to go in with the challenge, has showed the strengths at times before this season, will get involved with it, will ultimately, whether we agree with how good of a player he is or not, will lift the crowd. Andros Townsend is very unlikely to make a challenge tomorrow that'll lift the crowd, to make a challenge tomorrow that'll make us go on. Anthony Gordon's very likely to do that. Show a bit of emotion. Now, yes, you might say, yeah, Cam, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't create anything, so void. Discussion void. But I don't think it is void. Because I think there's something in that. There's something in playing a young lad in a Merseyside derby and saying, go out there and lift this crowd. Go out there, work hard, get involved, throw the tackles in, battle. And what better game for Anthony Gordon to score his first Everton goal in than a Merseyside derby? There you go. That's the selection that I think is probably very unlikely. I think we'd more than likely see Andros Townsend and Anthony Gordon benched. But there you go. Mike says yes, but we do need a touch of quality. Surely we do, Mike. We do. But Andros Townsend at the minute hasn't brought a touch of quality for a matter of weeks, months. So there you go. That is my predicted starting 11. Let us know in the comment section down below whether you agree. If you're watching live, get your thoughts in the live comments, and we will be getting back involved with them in a second before we finish up. Listen, undoubtedly a really, really difficult game of football for Everton. We know that. Whether we like them or not, they're a very, very good team. Very, very good team. And they've got all of the capability in the world to absolutely blow us away tomorrow. And I think if they do, then it might be no way back for Rafa Benitez. But there's certainly ways in which we can get under the skin. And we can put in a proud performance. We still mightn't come out with a win because of their quality is better than ours. But there's ways that we can come out and go, do you know what? We worked hard today. We battled. We give them problems. We give them something to think about. We showed that determination, that grit, that desire. As I said, there's going to be a lot of angry Evertonians at Goodison Park tomorrow. Turn that anger, turn that frustration, turn that sort of, that emotional, volcano, if you like. For, Evertonians at the moment, I would liken it to a volcano. The emotion's up to here, and it's going to come out tomorrow, one way or the other. Now, hopefully it comes out in a positive, and hopefully these players can turn that into a positive as well. Let's get back in the live comments before we finish up then. Glenn says the 100 like gets a Fabian Del first aid kit. Is right. Phil says pop it in, Pete the postman. Crimson says Niles Nkunku's been a regular for the Belgium side. Only wish we'd recall him. He is not getting recalled, is he? Let's be honest. 105 likes, Camboon. Thank you very much. Where me? Right, a gobshite says Izzy is right. Right says and the rest Royals. Martin says spot on, Cam needs scousers on the pitch. We're just players that are willing to give everything and can turn the game for us. Mitchell says 100 like gets a Magai Gay shin pad. Unbelievable that. Kevin's going for a 4-0 loss. Sorry, but the gap has never been bigger. Understandable. Just beat them, says Gavin. Crimson's going for 7-0. Wormy's going for we should play Liverpool more often for Cam's ratings. Score prediction wise, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not giving one because I'm not very confident. I'm not gonna sit here on YouTube in front of 158 people, however many people will watch between now and tomorrow, and predict a loss in a derby. But I'm not going to give one. In fact, I am going to give one. We're fucking winning 3-0 up the toffees. Glenn says, come on, you Blues. Will says, Gordon must start, in my opinion. Cam. There you go. Izzy says the 100 like will get a meet and greet with Alex Iwobi. Ollie says Arsenal benched all their players who didn't care and played youth. Now they have one of the best young teams in the league. We have such a good young squad. Why can't we do the same? Interesting point, my mate. Philip says he's on a permanent break. Thomas says he's a local lad as well. This is what it means. Yeah, sorry, this is what he wants. Glenn says, in the words of Shaggy, it wasn't me. Belter tune, my mate, belter tune. Martin says, why has Dean stopped taking attacking free kicks like in his first and second season? I don't know. He hasn't been very good at them, that's for sure, when he has taken them. Whammy says, who is it that took all the free kicks? Can't put your finger on it. We need... Mitchell says, who gets the gold-plated PS5? Hang on, what's this about a gold-plated PS5? I've missed this one. Who's getting I want a gold-plated PS5. What's that about? Callum says, I'll tell you a problem I have with Townsend. His crossing's been horrendous. It has recently. Pokey says, if only Iwobi and Gordon's passion and aggression. He is a young lad with a big future for him. He has the right mentality. Mitchell says, whoever gets the 100 like gets a gold-plated PS5. I'm sorry, you don't. I haven't got one to give away. I wish I did. I don't wish I did. I wish I just had one to keep myself. Izzy says, Solomon Rondon, he looks like he's stuck in the mud. Surely Rafa should bring up someone from the under-23s to be DCL backup. Well, we've got Sims there, Dobbin there, but they're not really getting the goal. Anyway, listen, the reason I haven't really mentioned Solomon Rondon is I don't even think Rafa Benitez would have the bollocks to start him tomorrow, especially given Richarlison is back. Not to mention missing a decent fair from free kicks, says Philip. Get the 100 like gets a shout out. I don't actually know who the 100 like was, so I can't give them a shout out, but whoever it was, you're a belter, nice one. Their biggest weakness is their fullbacks leaving space behind, counter-attacking, there you go. Key says the Corey is rusty as fuck. I don't think he is. Yes, he's not 100% fit, but I don't think he's rusty. Sims can't be any worse than Solomon, says Crimson. I've captained the Corey in FPL, says Martin. He's right. Eugene thinks we should go with a 4-2-3-1. Charlie says, will Rafa try and park the bus or go for it? Probably park the bus. Liverpool says, Lavvid says there's only one way to beat Liverpool, kick arse. There you go. Martin says, when Gray came on, he whipped two amazing crosses, need a mobile forward. Exactly, Richarlison. The Corey has to play out of his skin to keep up with the Liverpool midfield tomorrow. Alan has looked dreadful recently. That's why I'd say have three in the midfield, give them a little bit more support. Sababy says, is Gomez playing tomorrow? His passing is good, we need creativity. I doubt, he might be on the bench, but I doubt he'll start. Big up Blue Scouser says, 0T is right. The Corey is still not fit, I agree with me. James says, same midfield as me, Cam is right. Chris says, isn't Delph injured? I don't think so. Lavavid says, who exactly calls the shots on management and players, Rafa Brands or Farhad? Yes, it's a question often asked. I think Frank, who works in the corner shop, probably decides which players we sign and which players we don't sign. And I think Frank probably doesn't have a clue about football. Bodies have to be on the line tomorrow, says James. No, I completely agree. I absolutely, completely agree. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Let's not be defeated, says Mike. Chris says, play with pride. That's the least they owe us. If we win, I'll eat my hamster. I won't be doing that, mate. It's a bit harsh on the old hamster, isn't it? 110 likes, gets a Delph hair kit, says Whammy. EFC 1, Liverpool 0, says Martin. Let's hope so. Imagine Solomon Rondon scores a bicycle kick winner. Izzy, I'll be over the moon. Put it that way. Doug says, good evening, what's happening, my mate? Andrew says, I can't make you feel sorry for me as I'm in work tomorrow night with 4 Reds. Well, let's wait and see. Whammy says 115 likes for the JPG fitness and body cam video. Get it to 115 likes, come on. Come on, Blues. Cheers for the team, Cam fella. Have a good night. See you hopefully with a positive reaction, says Crimson. Need to be in midfield, says Will. Thomas says, what's for tea, Cam lad? Geordie's out there, but I am going the sauna at 7. And typically what happens when I go to the sauna at 7 is I get extremely hungry after coming home from the sauna. So anything I can find upon return from the sauna. The 111 like gets a life-size Solomon Rondon stone statue, says mad. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. Listen, this is going to be an extremely difficult game of football tomorrow. It goes without saying. It really, really does. Liverpool, whether we like them or hate them, and let's be honest, we all hate them, they're a fantastic side with a really, really good quality, really, really good quality players, and a manager who, although I despise, is a very good manager. And Everton at the moment are an atrocious squad with manager making bad decisions, a poorly run club, dreadfully run club in fact, by an inept board, a director of football who seemingly hasn't got a clue what he's doing, and yeah, we're in a bad way. However, up the fucking toffees, it's a Merseyside derby. We saw a reaction against Spurs in the intensity, in the determination, in the fight, in the passion, in the desire. Let's hope we see it tomorrow. As I said, let's turn that emotional volcano to positivity when it comes out. Get behind the team. They need it. They absolutely need it more than anything tomorrow, and they've got to show it. they've got to give us something to show as well. They've got to battle, they've got to fight, they've got to give it 110%. And if they do, let's get behind it and let's see what happens, eh? We're all expecting a absolute tonking, aren't we? Let's be honest. We're all expecting, an absolute whitewash by Liverpool. So let's just get behind the team. Up the toffees. They're crap, we're boss. All of that sort of stuff. And let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens. Ultimately, look, these games come around twice a year. I dread them every single time they come around. I absolutely hate them, but they've got to be done. I dreaded the last one at Anfield, and we turned up and we beat them. So let's hope we can do it again this time. If you go in the game, try and enjoy it. And let's hope that the players can actually give us something to be proud of, because I think it's about time that they did. I really, really do. If you've enjoyed this one, please hit that like button. Once again, a massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. I'm sorry I couldn't get involved with all of them. I really do apologise, but there's just been an absolute mad amount of comments tonight, so I really, really do appreciate it. If you are watching as a YouTube video, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can as well. If you've enjoyed this one, please hit that thumbs up button. It does only take a second. Once again, a massive thanks for all of the support, and subscribe if you're new as well. That only takes a second, and again means a massive, massive amount to me. We will be back tomorrow with the instant match reaction and the player ratings directly after the game, so don't forget to look out for those as well. And then of course, live game review will be back on Thursday. Thomas says, boss Twitter page as well. Cam, nice one, my mate. Appreciate that. Follow us on Twitter, by the way, if you don't already, at MightyBluesYT. Daniel says, Iwobi and Rondon, masterclass brace for both, and no one, and one for Anthony Gordon. 5-0 Everton win up the toffees. That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. If we sack Rafa, we have to pay a compensation fee, which could affect our spending, says Tsumi-san. Yeah, fair enough. Enjoy the game. Cheers, Cam. Come on, you Blues. NSNO up the toffee, says man is right. Fingers crossed, Cam, says Chris. Cheers, boss, says Charlie. And Martin puts fingers crossed as well. Wayne says you won't be able to tell the difference. Honest. Listen, let's go out there and put a performance in, eh? Come on. Up the toffees. Up the toffees. Listen, I'm not looking forward to it, but we'll wait and see what happens. Big thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please hit that like button. Big thanks to everybody in live comments. If you're watching this as a YouTube video, leave your comments down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can. Massive thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers. See you after.